Good evening, everybody. I know some people are still moseying in, but if the candidates could come on up to the stage here, I'd like to get started as close to 7 as we can. What's that? An air horn? You'll see. Jimmy, you good? All right, Joe, you got the hot seat here.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Joe, Johnny. I'm still calling you Joe. You know why? I got an old buddy named Joe Boker.
No way.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, welcome, everybody. It's promptly 7 o'clock. Welcome to the Opac Candidate Forum for 2025. I'm David Jaffe. I'll be your moderator. My wife, Brenda, who's going to wave, is our timekeeper. She always gets more applause than me. This forum is being broadcast live on the Havre de Grace City website, www.havredegracemarylandmd.gov, and on the city's YouTube channel, where it will remain available throughout the election season and through the election for citizen viewing. Last year was an uncontested election. This year we have 8 candidates. Many of you and others in the community have forwarded questions to me through the mailing list that I blast out. And actually this year, I think we got more questions than ever before. I have almost 90 questions now from the community. Of course, we're not going to do that. I've got them consolidated and pared down, but I appreciate the citizen input. If I don't ask your question, please don't take it personally. I'm doing the best to cover general topics with our candidates, but really appreciate everybody sending those questions in. It helps quite a bit. Candidates will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. They'll have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and then they'll have 1 minute to answer each of the questions in between. Candidates, you're not required to use the entire time when answering a question. As always, there are extra points for brevity here. The quicker that we move along, the more varied questions we can squeeze in here. And I have a number of extra ones. If we're really good, we'll have extra questions that we can get to more topics here. Brenda will be keeping time. Candidates, you'll hear a bell at the end of the 1 minute or the 2 minute intro. Brenda, you want to create that sound? That's what you'll hear. Yeah. I encourage you to please anticipate and cut off your comments when you hear the bell. You can, if you're in the middle of a thought or an idea, keep in mind you'll have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and you can always pick up at that time or with any of the other questions. You can use them to answer as you see fit. We're going to use a staggered rotation here that's going to work like this. You're all seated alphabetically. We'll start over here with Mr. Boker, who will be the first to answer the first question. Ms. Miller will be the last to answer the first question. And then with the next question up, we'll start at position number 2 here with Ms. Clark, and then circle around to Mr. Boker, and likewise throughout the order. I am very good at screwing this up. So please try to remember and help me out so that we can go smoothly. When the candidate before you completes his or her answer, or the bell is sounded, whichever comes first, if you're next, please feel free to just begin your answer. Don't wait for me to call upon you. You can just jump right in there. The details of the questions that I will be asking are generally not vetted. So candidates, You should set the record straight as you see it if you hear anything that's inaccurate or misrepresenting an issue or you personally. And I think that's all I have here, so we're going to begin. Oh, before we do, Vicki Jones was unable to be here tonight. She told me right off as soon as we set this date, she had an out-of-town conflict, but she did give me an opening statement to read, which I will read after the rest of our candidates read their opening statements. So without further ado, you'll have 2 minutes, candidates. We'll start with Mr. Boker, and please go on down the line and let us know who you are and what you want to say.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. First of all, I'm Councilman Johnny Boker. I was born and raised in Southern Illinois. But being born there, I sought a different life from coal mining and farming. So I enlisted in the U.S. Army. And I held many leadership positions through my 20 plus years as a non-commissioned officer. My time in the Army includes 6 combat tours, twice in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and twice in Afghanistan. Actually, during the most trying times as well. So I fought in the Army's toughest divisions, such as the 10th Mountain Division, the 101st Airborne Division, and that's where I've earned the trust and confidence of my soldiers as a company and battery first sergeant during wartime and peace, where I continue to hone my leadership abilities. My wife, Wanda, and I have lived here in Havre de Grace since 2011. In 2012, we opened a business together downtown called Liberty Bizou, which we sold in 2019, and we are thrilled that that business model is still successful today. I hold a master's in business administration from the University of Maryland Global Campus, and I'm working on an additional master's degree from the Maryland Municipal League. I also have several U.S. Army acquisition logistician certificates. I work on everything Proving Ground as a product support manager for field artillery, ballistic computation software, and long-range precision fires, lethality, right? My leadership ability is, as a city leader, is proven to me whenever citizens tell me that I have actually represented them well on the dais. That's when I know that I'm actually doing what I was elected to do. I serve you by acting on your behalf for the city. I'm running for re-election because I absolutely love serving you. I love the work. Our citizens are intelligent and engaged, and it's an honor and a privilege to greet most of you on a weekly basis all around town and have fruitful, friendly, intelligent discussions. My leadership philosophy respects both old and new traditional leadership values. I'm a participative leader who leads by example. One tenet of my leadership ability is availability. When a leader is available, it means they are in the same environment as those who are being led, listening and providing sound guidance and direction. I've always believed that an effective leader is informed by those in which they lead, and earned and respect is earned and not demanded. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Liz Clark. I'm proud to be running for a seat that allows me to serve this community that I care so deeply about. I want to start off by thanking my amazing wife and 4 boys, as well as my future daughter-in-law, for all the support that they have been to me during this process. Along with them and all of my friends who've been beside me, they took this passion of mine and took it fiercely as well. Also, a special thank you to Dr. Jaffe and your beautiful wife for holding this event tonight and helping us through this. A little bit about me. I'm an Army combat veteran who served in the Iraqi War. I currently work for the Department of Defense as a cybersecurity specialist. I'm someone who believes in consistent growth in everything. I hold a degree in computer science, and I'm currently back in school pursuing my degree in organizational leadership. Over the years, I've earned multiple leadership and IT certifications, but most importantly, I've gained real-world experience in project planning and development. These skills, I believe, will benefit our city directly. Service is in my DNA and a core value for me, not just professionally, but personally. I have proudly served as the vice president for our Havre de Grace youth basketball program, secretary for my HOA. I'm an active volunteer in many other assets within our community. I am consistently present at high school sporting events, as well as multiple youth events throughout our community. I've supported organizations like the Girl Scouts, which I've also earned my Gold Award, the Cub Scouts, where I was both a Cub Master, Assistant Cub Master, and the Harford County Day Camp Director. I know that it is vital to invest in our youth and give them space to thrive. Having 4 sons, ages ranging from 10 to 25, our community matters the most to me, and it is deeply rooted that Havre de Grace be developed in a place that they always want to come home to. I'm very strong with my children and giving back to the community, and that's why I'm focused on creating a safe and engaging opportunities for our youngsters. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for showing up and for everybody watching online. My name is Matthew Ellis, and I'm running for Havre de Grace City Council. I first came here 9 years ago to watch the fireworks, and I immediately know I wanted to be here forever. Today, I'm proud to serve on the Independence Day Commission, the exact thing that brought me here. I grew up just across the bay in a town that reminds me a lot of Havre de Grace. The issue is I watched that town shift, families priced out, schools closed, and the heart of the community faded. I'm running because I believe that growth shouldn't come at the expense of the people who call this place home. I coach in town. I serve on the youth commission, the green team, the cat club, and volunteer for projects that keep our city's past and future strong. I also advocate for foster children as a court-appointed special advocate for Hartford County. Beyond that, I often attend a variety of meetings throughout the city. I learned how the city runs from the ground up, being in the rooms and asking the questions. And while I believe it's extremely important that city employees need strong professional qualifications to run their departments, I believe your city council needs people who listen, who work well with others, and who are connected to everyday Havre de Grace. I'm not just a name on the ballot. I'm someone that many of you already know and trust, and that's what makes me different. The truth is, I don't think that half of the town could pick out all their representatives out of a lineup, and I want to change that. Our council should reflect the diversity and spirit of Havre de Grace. I believe each one of us should represent and connect with different parts of the city, because that's how you make sure that everyone's voice is heard. When they feel heard, I believe that they will engage more. I live by the words, be who you need to when you were younger, and that's how I'll lead.
Hi there, my name is Scott Clark. Thank you all for coming out, people here in person and people watching online. I want to give a little background on me. I'm not a traditional candidate with a professional bio. I've led an unconventional lifestyle. I left home at 16 to pursue acting in California. That dream was not fulfilled, obviously. I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life. I've owned several businesses related to real estate. Had a dozen rentals down in Baltimore for a number of years. Had a company that I started, a tenant placement company, helping people on programs like Section 8, home health care for the homeless. And that was a neat little business for a good period of time, helped some people too. Election day is May 6th. I really hope everybody comes to vote, whether you hate me, love me, everybody here, just please come out and vote. We need it bad in this town. Election day is me and my wonderful wife's 30th anniversary. So that's kind of special for us. Speaking of my wife, we both volunteer at various functions around the city, especially my wife. She does a tremendous amount of stuff quietly. Well, we also owned twice as nice consignment shop in Havre de Grace up on Route 40 for 10 years. My wife ran it, and then she transitioned to work for Hartford County Schools at the Strive program, and she really loves it. She loves dealing with the kids and doesn't pay a whole lot, but it's very satisfying to her. We've lived in Havre de Grace for 11 years. We've had rentals in town much longer than that, and we had the business as well. We've had a boat slip at the City Yacht Basin for 15 years. Our house is on a historical register of Havre de Grace. It's the Malsby tenant house. It's a tiny house. I don't know how many tenants they could have rented out back then, but that was it. My values, I'm fiscally responsible. I want to ensure taxpayer dollars are well spent in the community and people know where they're going. I have a lot of questions as a resident and homeowner that I have a hard time getting answered. I want to change that. Thank you.
Hello, I'm George Kaznick. I want to give thanks to the Star Center, Opac, fellow candidates, and the constituents. Who am I? I'm a Havre de Grace resident for 16 years. I'm married to Donna. I have 4 daughters. I have a Bachelor of Science in Economics from the University of Delaware. I have a Master's in Education from Notre Dame of Maryland University. I spent 6 years in the military, including an overseas tour in West Germany. I have 20 years' experience in private industry, in logistics, with budgetary and profit center responsibility. I have 14 years in education. I'm now a sixth grade teacher at Edgewood Middle School. Community service experience include being a veteran, U.S. Army captain with service with the 1st Infantry Division. I spent 2004 in Iraq as a contractor with Kellogg Brown and Root. I serve on the Selective Service System Board. I am former chief election judge in Harford County. I'm a former high school softball umpire. I serve on my employer's benefits advisory committee. I'm a building representative for my union, and I am my union's representative for a sick leave bank. Thank you.
My name is Dave Martin. I'm a husband, father, grandfather, homeowner, and community volunteer. I married my high school sweetheart, Deborah. We've been married for 46 years this June. I've always been active in my community since the late 70s with scouting, coaching football, soccer, and basketball. I'm a member of the Maryland Troopers Association, FOP Lodge 76, the Havre de Grace United Methodist Church, Sons of the American Legion, Susquehanna Post 135, and I'm an American Legion Rider. I'm on the board of directors of the Sparrows Point North Point Historic Society. You may ask what makes me qualified to return as your Havre de Grace City Council. I have a diverse background, retiring honorably from the Maryland State Police with 20 years of service, working in private sector, and running my own business. I was elected to the Havre de Grace Council in May of 2015, and I served 4 terms. I have attended and graduated from the 2016 Hartford Leadership Academy, and while attending the Maryland Municipal League conferences, I earned my certification from the University of Maryland Academy of Excellence in Local Government, the School of Public Policy in 2018. My experience has me uniquely prepared to serve the citizens of Havre de Grace. I continually support the host company, the Ambulance Corps, and the Havre de Grace Police Department. I'm financially responsible, I have a strong work ethic, and possess common sense. And I offer in-depth knowledge for a variety of issues through my diverse experience. I held the following municipal positions for 8 years. The Havre de Grace Ethics Commission, where I led the initiative to become the first municipality in the state of Maryland with an ethics code covering anti-harassment, anti-discrimination, and anti-intimidation policy that includes both elected and appointed officials. The Water and Sewer Commission, the Administration Commission, Strategic Initiative Review, Parks and Harbor, Tourism Advisory, the Marine Commission, the Public Works Commission. I'm also a member of the Maryland Legislative Committee, where I was the Havre de Grace voice in Annapolis. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Victoria Miller. One of the things that really attracted me to this town was its diversity. It has a very wide range of diverse people. Well, I ran a business for 44 years in New Jersey. I started at the age of 16. I built and bought my first building at the age of 18. I built my house. I did construction with my father. I'm also a parent of 2 daughters who are very successful. Back in the 70s, my parents started a marching band. And that was to keep kids off the streets and out of trouble. And what I learned from that was that when you give kids direction, they don't get in trouble. And I'm very strong about that. Sports is one thing, and it's great, but I don't know anybody in sports that made it professionally. I know several band people that have made it professionally. Throughout the 80s and 90s, I was a dive master, a rescue diver, and an underwater crime scene investigator on the New Jersey coast. I owned property down in Barnegat Light, New Jersey. One of the things I'm passionate about, some of you may know if you see me walk, I have a little bit of a limp. My left foot is titanium, is accessibility for disabled people and seniors. That's something that I believe that we really need to do a good job with. And it's just one of the things you'll find out about me. If you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I'm not going to feed you a story. I will tell you flat out, I don't know. Let me look into that. Let me learn about it before I get back to you. I believe in being honest, straightforward. I'm very fiscally responsible. And I just want to serve my community that I've grown to really love.
Thank you. And on behalf of Vicki Jones, hello, Havre de Grace. First, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to me and Opac for putting this forum together and reading this message on my behalf. Unfortunately, I'm unable to be with you in person as I'm currently attending a leadership conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, a long-planned and fully committed engagement. While I regret missing this opportunity to engage with you face-to-face, I remain deeply committed to the future of Havre de Grace. I was able to attend this forum back in 2022, and it was such a great experience, just being in a room with people who care about our community and want to serve. This year, you've got another strong group of candidates to choose from, and I want to tell you a little about me and why I hope to earn your vote. I'm a military brat who first moved to Bel Air in 1987, and when it came time to purchase a home, I chose Havre de Grace, a decision I've never regretted. I've proudly called this city home for the past 9 years. Educationally, I hold a degree in journalism and political science from Howard University and a master's in public policy and management from New York University. My professional journey spans more than 25 years, with leadership roles in Washington, D.C., New York City, and right here in Harford County. I've worked with nationally recognized organizations like AARP, globally respected institutions like Goodwill Industries International, and government entities like the New York City Department of Small Business Services. My focus has been strategic planning and workforce development. Beyond my career, service is at the heart of what I do. I'm deeply engaged in our community, serving on the Harford County Department of Social Services Advisory Board, the Police Accountability Board, the Harford Community College Foundation, and the Parks and Recreation Committee. At the state level, I contribute as a commissioner on the Maryland Hate and Bias Prevention Commission. I've been humbled by recognitions such as being named one of the Baltimore Sun's 25 Women to Watch, a nominee for Harford's Most Beautiful People, and a WEDC Women of Influence. I'm going to take prerogative here and finish this last paragraph since Ms. Jones has no other opportunity to say anything tonight. Those who know me best describe me as enterprising, trustworthy, loyal, and empathetic, qualities I bring to my work in public service. Over the past 2 years, I've listened, learned, and stood alongside residents to better understand what matters most, whether it's property concerns, historic preservation, or support for the arts. I want to make sure your voice is heard, especially those who don't always feel represented or don't know where to start with advocacy. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I do promise to keep showing up, asking the right questions, and working hard to find real solutions. Thank you for your time, your trust, and your belief in the future of Havre de Grace. So now we will continue on with the 1-minute questions. We'll start with Ms. Clark and move down, and we'll finish with Mr. Boker. So question number 1. Why did you decide to run for city council? For new candidates, what do you plan to accomplish that the current city council has not or is not? Ms. Clark.
So why did I run for city council? So now that I've spoke for a minute and I'm not as nervous, I think, I feel like there's a lot within the city that we can bring as far as bridging our youth and our older generations. There's, I feel like a lacking for that. We can't forget the history of the city, but we have to bring our youth into that. We can't forget our youth either. They are our history, or they are our future. I also feel like some things that I can continue on, because I don't know that I have identified in my time looking into this to run and selecting this as a future for myself. I don't know that I found anything that I just am seriously disappointed in the city in. So I feel like things that I would like to continue looking into are the budget and better ways to move some of the money around. Things that can be identified where maybe taxes can be changed on some things, or different enhancements. I love how the downtown project is coming along. So I definitely think that's something that I would like to put my hands in a little bit. And I am looking forward to serving each of you, which is another thing that I'm very passionate about, is viewing this as a partnership. Thank you.
My why is my son. Every level that I accomplish, my son thinks that he can do better than me, and that's always the goal. So where I ended my intro was the quote, "Be who you needed when you were younger." That's how I lead. That's how I live my life. And that's the short answer. I like what Havre de Grace is doing. I love Havre de Grace. I love the future I see here. And I think that accountability breeds responsibility. And I don't want to sit and complain about anything if I'm not going to do anything about it. And I plan on showing up and doing the very best I can and being a voice and a guiding light for the youth who I coach and who are in my neighborhood and look up to me.
Mr. Carr.
I decided to run based off the last election. I think it was the last election. I mean, we had 459 people, voters show up, and nobody contested any of the seats. I believe it was the last election. That's what got it in my head to think about it. And just with talking with people, being a homeowner, being a taxpayer, people have a lot of concerns. One big one is to get people out to vote. If I lose it, if I don't win a seat, I'm still going to try to get involved somehow to get people to the polls. We need that. There's water concerns with people. We do pay a decent amount, it seems like. My house, 1,000 square foot, 2 people, we pay $250, $300 every quarter. Seems a little high, and we're selling water up the road to Aberdeen. So that's a concern that we have. And a big concern is the Amtrak project. That project is estimated to finish in 2036. I'm gonna be an old man then, and we know it's not gonna finish then. What project really does finish like that? It's gonna cut part of the town off for a little bit. And I've got a lot of questions that I want to get answers to too. That's my main driving thing as a fellow citizen is I had a hard time finding answers through the city. So I'm going to try this way. Thank you.
I'll be brutally honest. So at first I signed up to run because I did not want to see another uncontested election. So hopefully make sure there were 4 candidates. As I thought about it, then I thought I want to have my voice heard and the voice of citizens like me heard in forums like this. So that's why I decided to run, and that's why I'm sitting up here today. For the council and different things here we asked about, more info is the access to information is incredibly important, and things like the city website, which is nitty-gritty of city government, needs to be improved. We need to find a way to improve that, whether that's committees, or it's using a local organization like Glyph and letting a contract something to make it easier to find information for things like the Amtrak project, which are, or the downtown revitalization timelines, things like that that are not easily accessible. I support much of what our mayor and our city council already do, especially downtown revitalization, the tide, and the stewardship of our water plan. Thank you.
I'm seeking to return to the City Council and the Water and Sewer Commission. Clean water and the discharge of the city's wastewater back into the Susquehanna River are now paramount issues since the discovery and restrictions of PFAS by the EPA. These concerns from the EPA represent possible health issues to everyone using Havre de Grace water and the wastewater effluent stream being returned to the Susquehanna River by the wastewater treatment plant. I'm also here to say we need to improve activities for our youth. I'd still love to see the rink set up for skateboarders. And finally, we need an all-inclusive park for all children.
Why I decided to run, basically, to get involved. I came from a little town called Washington Township, New Jersey. It was a little town. It was about 5 times the size of Havre de Grace. But there, everybody complained, but then nobody wanted to get involved. If you don't get involved, you really don't have much of a leg to stand on when you're complaining. And before I did, I took a walk through the town. And I talked to business owners and got their feedback of what the city could do for them. I talked to residents and got feedback of what the city could do for them and their complaints. And now that I am running, now I can at least address those complaints and look into making things better. I have studied a little bit about our water and the waste going back into the Susquehanna and all that. I live on my motor yacht So obviously, clean water and the city yacht basin is very important to me, and taking care of it.
Mr. Boker.
Thank you. So I think the question was why I was running, right? So the best is yet to come. There are so many things in the works right now that you're going to be excited about. That's going to make your home values increase. That's going to secure safety. These are things that are in the works. I am super positive about these things and working with the administration, which has been a little bit of a struggle, but we've overcome it because we've had a total change out, except for one, of all the directors up at City Hall. Only one director has actually, most of them have flipped out for different and various reasons. But like I said, I'm super excited. There's irons in the fire now. You can see it. The actual seat that you're sitting in right now is one of those improvements, and that was actually conducted under budget. And the downtown renovation is moving along. It's close to being on schedule, right? So sometimes you got to break some eggs to make the cake, right? I'm super optimistic, super positive about the direction in which that we're going. And if you want to affect any kind of change, you really don't have to be on the dais to do so. There are 13 commissions in the city, as well as there are 6 committees that you can be a part of. Being a part of those committees and commissions really resonates your ideas toward change, especially with our historic commission. So one of the reasons why I'm running is to just take this football and carry it across the goal line. Thank you.
Mr. Ellis, we'll start with you. Our empty hospital building is fast becoming an eyesore. Please state your understanding of the current state of the hospital property and any ideas you might have to move the discussion and plans for the property forward.
So I'm currently attending the Hartford County Leadership Academy program. The other day we had a session on economic development, and they asked the question: if you had unlimited resources and could get anything you want, what would you want? And the idea that we heard was another satellite location for the community college. I personally think that would be a phenomenal asset to the town. I think that we could attract people from Cecil County as well. And I don't know how plausible it is, but I think a nursing program there would be phenomenal. It would be an easy switch. You wouldn't have to change much, and we could implement blood work and simple things that would get not necessarily another primary care doctor, but we could hit a couple different things at the same time.
I understand University of Maryland owns that property, and from what I gather, they own the whole state, and nothing gets done unless it's approved by them. I've heard that, who knows how, it's just a rumor, but they're talking about 400 plus residential units there. That seems to be excessive to me, right in that area, because you only got one way out, really, basically from there. I would love to see like a hybrid, maybe some kind of retail, smaller business retail and residential, but 400 units seems excessive to me. But that's basically all I really know about that part of our town and our issues with the hospital.
I echo what Scott just said. Understand it's owned by the University of Maryland Medical System, and what they decide to do with it, I'm sure will be a business decision. And I'm not sure exactly what influence we have as a city council on their business decisions. I would like to see if, as they parcel that up and make a decision on what to do with it, if perhaps we could get them to make some land available to the city for either an area for a park there. I also don't know what rehabilitation needs to be done to that building to either build residences or make it safe. I'd also like to see a study on the parking garage there. If perhaps we could get that parking garage as a city, see what the economics on that are, and adding it to the tide route. So as the revitalization of downtown draws visitors here, they have somewhere to park.
University of Maryland owns the property. They also own the property on 155. The ability for them to sell the property on 155 and then the possibility for them to, or the Hartford County, to have the building demolished and the property capped and then deeded to the city. That would be a great location for a Century Skate Park and for a multi-purpose. Ultimately, if a builder is going to buy it, a developer demolish the building, cap the property, build single-family houses in the style similar to the historic downtown with rear access garages. I don't believe there would be basements in these houses projects due to the cost of soil remediation. Concerns with higher density housing is the rush hour traffic issues, creation of poor intersections, and additional parking constraints.
Ms. Miller?
Having worked on several older buildings in my life and talking to several people who are very familiar with that building, a bulldozer is what that building is suited for. What I would like to see there, having used Hartford Memorial shortly after I got here, I was taken by ambulance there. I think an urgent care or something there should be there so that residents of the city don't have to travel far in the event of some kind of medical emergency. But I would agree, a skate park, some residential homes in a historic flavor that would blend in with the city would be a really great asset to the city. And I think if you try to fit too many homes in that area, it's going to make the density a little bit too heavy and cause a bigger problem.
So, thank you. So, if you can just imagine what the city seal looks like, right? You all know what the Havre de Grace city seal looks like. There's two important years on that city seal. And the one on the left is 1785. And that's the year that the town became incorporated. On the right side of the seal, you'll see another date, and that's 1878. And that's the year that the town became a city with its own government. And under that government, under the annotated code of 11 Echo, and oh, by the way, this is all on the website. This is not inside information. It's all there for everyone to read. Under 11 Echo, you'll also see under the city codes, and you'll see city code 33 and 34 that gives us specific powers to actually do certain things. So with those powers, we can grant certain zoning restrictions and things of that nature for, in this case, for hospital property, right? We know what our power is as a council working together, and we can rezone things to actually meet and entice a new builder to come in. I can also tell you that there are some things in the works right now that I really can't tell you, but I'm very optimistic about what's going to happen. And we need to leverage Hartford County pretty hard for that check. But we're going to make it happen. Thank you.
So while I'm not sure what the actual intent for the city or for the hospital property is, I have heard many things of it being torn down and houses being built to another hospital being put in there to many other things. While I am aware that University of Maryland owns that property and the property on 155, as Mr. Martin said, I would like to see some type of some type of hospital setting there. I do feel like we have a lot of historical people in our community that could benefit from a local healthcare option. If that's not an option, I would like to see things for our youth in one of those two places. I definitely don't think we need hospital care in both places, but something to accommodate the entire community in both locations.
Thank you. Mr. Karg, with cuts to federal funding impacting local schools and local food systems, what can a local city council member do to ensure that the 1 in 6 children who are food insecure in Havre de Grace do to ensure that they don't become 1 in 4 or worse?
Childhood hunger is a huge issue for me, for us. My wife and I we volunteer, well, quietly, I like to say, but when I see people post that their kids are hungry, stuff like that, people are struggling. I don't give people money anymore because a lot of people, they're just scam artists out there. Anyway, we'll go buy people groceries or whatever. I know there's a bunch of places, churches, organizations that do have food drives, food pickups. I'd like to organize it a little better where people that really need it, people are ashamed. I was hungry when I was a kid, and you're ashamed almost to ask for help. There's got to be a way where we can put some help out there and deliver boxes of food to kids that are hungry. I mean, that's important to me, and I think it's something that we could easily look into. And there's plenty of volunteers. There's a town of volunteers. We can get people to take food to hungry kids. So that's it.
Just bootstrapping off of what Scott here said, cuts to federal funding, and then of course that affects cuts to state funding. One thing that the state of Maryland has been doing recently is public-private partnerships in many areas. It's one of Governor Moore's initiatives. And I think on the local level, coordinating public-private partnerships on the micro level with, we have local food banks. We have the local, even the food, there's one in front of the Legion, there's one in some of the churches where people can get food also. So coordinating that and making it available. In the fiscal climate we are, I don't know that there's money in the budget to do a major event, but it's also an issue where putting some elbow grease into it and maybe having a city commission working on that too could do some good for these children.
As a city council elected official, we have no control over Harford County School Board. The one thing we do have is input of our voices, the input of our citizens. We are well heard and well represented. The county executive knows who we are. Our state delegates know who we are. Our county delegates know who we are. So the answer is we have to put our voices with those of our citizens back against the school board and go forward with positive actions that they will do. But it's about us using our voices because that's all we really have.
Hunger is something that I got very familiar with at 53 years of age. I was found in front of my office one day in a puddle of vomit, in a coma, and on the way to the hospital had a heart attack. I was an out-of-control diabetic. I lost everything I had and became homeless. So eating was very difficult for a few years. Once I rebuilt my life and got stronger and of course I could feed myself. When I hear on Facebook, parents don't have the money to give their kids for school lunches. I had free school lunches when I went to school. And that's just in supposedly the world's superpower. In my opinion, that's something that just shouldn't be. My sister taught me how to write grants. And sometimes you can get corporations to fund school lunch programs. And I don't pretend to know all the ins and outs about the Harford County School Board and the school system itself. But I would venture to guess there's a way to be able to provide that.
Okay. So thank you. So DACD grants are already being cut, right? So some of these grants are actually at the level that I could actually help community development. So this is already diminished, right? And some of those grants help out stormwater waste management and things of that nature. So the wolf is kind of at the door, right? But here's what I'll tell you is that we just, as your elected leader, we turn up the flame a little bit, right? For Harford County, put the pressure on them. It's up to them to actually, to us to lobby on your behalf, right? And to the children behalf, those of you who are hungry, and up to the state level, right? So we pound on doors and we attend the meetings and we're very active. And that's how we actually bring the funding into it, rightfully so. No child should go hungry, right? I do see today there was a bill signed as well. If you guys are tuned into, we'll watch PBS NewsHour. I love PBS NewsHour. But if you're tuned in, you'll see that there was, another, presidential order signed today, and this will trickle down. So state and county, thank you.
So the children obviously are very special to me. This is one of my biggest passions. My wife, anyone in my family can tell you, anytime she comes home from work, we've got extra kids in our house because they're hungry, they're eating. And so I think one of the biggest things is fighting for the grants. Our voice is the only way we're going to be able to make any kind of change that is going to require an outside entity. So taking our commissions, the Youth Commission, fighting for the community, being the loudest voice in the room, coming in force, making sure that we're heard, making sure that our children are heard, and that their health and their voice is put in the forefront. Otherwise, we won't have a future for the city. Thank you.
So I started a Facebook page called Feeding Havre de Grace. There's a food pantry box on Gill Street. And I noticed that people were posting, hey, is there food in it? I want to donate, or I want to go pick food up. So instead of people having to put themselves out there, feel embarrassed, etc., I made the page so for both sides of people. If you want to donate, here's what's in here. I put a picture of the box every 7 days. Here's what's here, here's what's not. That's a very easy thing to do. I would bet my life that not one person in this room wants to see any child going to bed hungry tonight. I have extra food in my cabinet every day of the week. Secondly, I know for a fact that the green team would love to do something in the greenhouse at the school. The greenhouse is barely used, if at all. We could grow hundreds of pounds of vegetables in there.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Just for listeners here who may need this, where is that food box again? I missed it.
It's on the corner of Gill Street. It's at First Christian Church.
Thank you.
Giles Street, sorry.
On Giles Street by First Christian Church. Now I understand.
Thank you.
Mr. Kasnick, given our city's position where the Susquehanna River meets the Chesapeake Bay, what do you see as the city's role in ensuring that our shoreline and residents are protected from the challenges of a changing climate?
Thank you for that question. I prepared 3 issues in case, we were asked for what our big 3 issues was.
Yeah.
And environmental stewardship is actually one of them. So first of all, what we're doing on the shoreline, buying up parts of the shoreline, then returning it back to nature is incredibly important. It not only adds value to the town, it adds value to our property, but besides the economics of it, it protects the bay. It does what we need to do. And actually, if we could also mitigate flooding based on, how big that area gets and what we plant in it and off the shoreline. So that shoreline revitalization is incredibly important to our role. And we do have a key role. Depend on the river, and the river depends on it. Same thing with the water treatment plant. We have to make sure our water treatment plant is doing its job. And I was happy to see that Mayor Martin put $325,000 in the budget as a backup fund to make sure that we're maintaining that infrastructure. I think we have to do environmentally neutral construction. When Don and I visited Montreal a few years back, we parked and the parking there was permeable surfaces where we didn't have runoff. And it was basically a grid of a plastic grid with gravel in it as a parking lot rather than asphalt. So that's a zoning requirement we can explore as a city also. Thank you.
The city currently meets the MS4 or is working on meeting the MS4 requirements for all the areas about pollutants going in. When we talk about the wastewater treatment plant, it's doing a great job. We bring the water in, it's filtered, we have no issues. The concern is always going to be our wastewater treatment plant and the effluents that they put back out into the Susquehanna River. They are working on it, they continue to work on it, but there's a cost involved, especially when you're talking about PFAS and other cancer causing. Because that's considered hazardous material, the city has to store that and then come up with a way for them to transport that hazardous material out of the town. So the city is working on it. That's one of the reasons I want to get back on the Water and Sewer Commission and back on the council to work on those type of issues.
Living in Jersey and having property down on Long Beach Island, we dealt with very similar issues. Dredging down there was problematic. The advantage down there, though, was the sand that we pumped out could just be put out on the beach, so there was not a lot of hauling, where you don't have that situation here. The pollutants and chemicals, like they had said, it is a haul out requirement. That's something I need to learn more about. Like I said in the beginning, if I don't know something, I'm not going to feed you a story. I'm going to learn about it. So, and of course, being involved in recreational sport diving and boating, protecting our water lines and our shores and keeping the water safe is very important to me.
So thank you for the question. I appreciate that. So I can tell you that the city is actively engaged. The living shoreline was negotiated in an agreement with our strategic advisor actually negotiated an agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and Hartford County to actually begin that process, right? Which was actually a feather in our cap. We've kind of seen this thing coming, right? And we also abide by Chapter 169, which discusses stormwater management. Article 4 specifically is stormwater management criteria. Again, that's on the website as well, right? So within that plan, you have to actually submit a control plan every 2 years. And there is excessive, not just on the shoreline, right? But it's also affecting areas like Bay Lane and Havre de Grace. Bay Lane is notorious for being flooded. There was some action, my wife can tell you more, but there's some, because she writes grants. And so there was some activity there to put in some mitigation strategies for Bay Lane. So rest assured, that's one of the mitigation processes there. Also the living shoreline, and also things like river sweep, so we can actually keep plastic and Teflon and PFAS and those forever chemicals out of the bay. Thank you.
So this is one of the areas that I'm not as familiar with, but I do know that a lot of the streets down in the area of the shoreline do flood due to just the shoreline being there. So looking into grants and looking into how to protect that and keep the streets from flooding so that our businesses and homeowners in that area are not at the cost of this would be one of the things that I would look into the most, in addition to looking more into this. Thank you.
So the shoreline in Havre de Grace is being upgraded daily almost. They're not just putting plants in there to put plants in there. They're putting native plants that are native to this area. They're doing what they're supposed to do for the bay. And that water and the shoreline, I believe, is probably our most important resource here. Without that water, Havre de Grace isn't Havre de Grace, period. Havre de Grace is a different town. And I swim in that water. I kayak in that water. I took my dog swimming in that water. Between the green team and the cat club and the people in charge of revitalizing the shoreline, I think we're doing a great job. I think we can do better. But I think we're on par and on pace.
This is near and dear to as a bay user, swimmer, boater. Summertime, we're always out on the bay, go down to Fishing Battery Island, and water quality is obviously a big thing. We live right behind Water Street Seafood, so I see the daily updates of this living shoreline we're doing. They just planted a ton of plants yesterday. I think today some went in. I flew my drone around today, and it was so different than just a couple days ago, but it's beautiful, but it serves a purpose. If you know that neighborhood, all the rainwater comes right down. We live on Linden Lane. It's just like the top of the hill, and the water just runs right down. You can see it come down the road, Pearl Street, and go right to where that mitigation area is. So it's a good thing. I know our town meets the MS4, and our sewage plant, people don't even know about our sewage plant. It's the best in the state. The water that comes out of there, you could stick a cup in there and drink it legally, they say. So I think that we are on the right path, and we just need to watch about a lot of heavy metals up in front of the dam coming down. I think that's a concern, but I think we're doing a great job, like Matt said.
Thank you, candidates. We're talking a lot about water runoff and the shoreline, and it reminds me, every morning I walk our dog Roswell, and we walk by the lighthouse. And there's that retention pond at the foot of Alliance Street. I call that my little Walden Pond down there. It's just spectacular with all of the growth that you guys were mentioning there. It really is. I had to chime in.
I didn't know you were a transcendentalist. That's awesome.
Multifaceted. Multi. Now, While we're talking about runoff, Mr. Martin. Little background, OPAC stands for Ontario Otsego Positive Action Committee. This was the neighborhood association that was formed at the north end of town about 25 years ago. This is our 23rd year of doing this candidate forum. One of the issues particularly pertinent to those who live at the north end is flooding from Lily Run. And so this is a question that gets asked every year, and I dutifully bring it to the fore for all of you. April showers turn thoughts to Lily Run flooding. This is an issue that only seems to come to the forefront after an event. Should and can the city be proactive? Havre de Grace has attained significant funding for living shorelines and announced mitigation plans for a Lily Run between Wilson Street and Revolution Street above Bloomsbury Avenue that have funding. Do the environmental contamination and significant infrastructure issues downstream from Evonic mean that we're doomed to the status quo? Or can we find funding and think outside the box?
Can I have a minute to think about it?
You can have 60 seconds to think about it.
Okay. The city has purchased additional property around Lily Run, and they are going to make those, your favorite pond that you see, they're going to put those sediment ponds around Lily Run. It's not really going to reduce a lot, but it's going to add capacity so you don't get as much flooding. And then as the water sits in there, it'll then purify itself before it's released down there. So the city is in the process of purchasing property and creating sediment ponds around Lily Run.
Ms. Miller.
Well, like I told you earlier, if I don't know about a subject, I'm going to investigate it. That's something that I don't know absolutely nothing about. So I would just refer to the fact that I'm going to look into it, get educated on the subject, and find out. I mean, when I had my property down on Long Beach Island, we dealt with that, with nor'easters quite a bit. And we had to get educated on changing docking systems and the way we did things down there due to storms. I'm sure you're all familiar with Hurricane Sandy that really made a mess of the shoreline there. So it's just a matter of learning the topographical area and figuring out what options are.
Good old Lily Run, right? I mean, every year or every forum this comes up, right? This is something. And Lily Run is actually exquisite because it's the only body of water that I know of that when it floods, it actually runs upstream, right? Before it dumps out over by the Jokate Trail. That's a fact. So some bad news. I told you about the DHCD grant a little bit earlier about, maybe some of the absorption areas and things of that nature. That's a $1.3 million that just evaporated, right? So we had to think outside the box on this, right? So we're back to the drawing board on Lily Run, and it only becomes a deal whenever it rains. Oh, Lily Run this, and then we're like, yep, we got it. We're on it, right? We try to keep it. DPW is out there even before a storm to try to clean out some of the branches. The Cat Club, yours truly, trying to lift up big logs out of there because we know the storm is coming, things will flood, and our job is to protect the assets of Havre de Grace, right? One of those assets is your property, right? So, and doing Lily Run, I've always said, have you said to the previous chief administration is, why can't we just turn Lily Run and run it right down Seneca and put it right back into the river, right? And the stormwater can go that direction. Thank you.
So I will say the city has made significant improvements from my research on this, and they've cleaned it out. The dirt and debris, it does flow significantly better, but it is still a fear of a huge problem of the flooding. I would say that because funding is coming sparse in many areas, thinking outside the box is one of the things that is going to have to happen. So I do think grants are going to be our biggest friend here to fix this, and we'll have to pursue more money for it because we only have what we have. But I definitely think that new minds in city council will help bring new outside the box thinking that we haven't thought of before. And I think that with that being said, we'll be able to pursue new grants with this outside of the box thinking. Thank you.
So I researched this pretty extensively, and I saw that for 20 plus years, this has just been a problem, probably much longer. The good news is we've tried everything. There's everything we've done that hasn't worked, there's no need to re-explore it. So we can just continue to think of new creative ways and not continue to waste time on the 20 things that the city's already tried. That there's nothing great to say about it. It's a current ongoing problem that hasn't been resolved by people much smarter than I. And we just have to contact individuals who are in a similar situation. I'm sure there's plenty other towns that have the exact same problem. We just have to communicate with each other and get more creative.
I think if you look back 15 years ago or so at the intersection of Otsego and Juniata, it flooded out a lot more than it does today. My reason for stating that is the city has been making strides, cleaning up choke points, cleaning up clogs. It still floods down there, but nowhere near as much as it did. Even when I first moved here, it's been a lot less. So I think that some things are working. Obviously, it's a convoluted stream that runs underneath the streets and underneath the places. And I was really surprised when I started researching and learned a route of that thing. So maybe some more retention ponds, who knows? Again, I'm not an engineer or anything. We need engineers. Maybe the Chesapeake Bay Fund or something can help with some grants on that. I'm not sure, but it probably is a problem that many waterfront towns deal with. So, but the city is improving it. It has improved some. So, I mean, they're being proactive about it in my eyes anyway.
Okay, thank you. The advantage of going last is you get to hear what everybody else says. The disadvantage is you don't want to repeat what they say. I want to thank David for his information about what the town's already done. I am pretty ignorant of Lily Run and the problems there, and I'll say that straight out. Citizens should not have to live in an unlivable situation. We're both environmental stewards, and protecting the quality of life and our property are primary things we should do as a city government. And this points to one in social studies we teach, the four purposes of government. Providing public services is one of them. And this is one of the things the city government, all the people up here, I'm sure, would listen to the experts, would listen to the citizens, and would try to find the answers like Mr. Ellis said, learning from what didn't work in the past and finding a path forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carg, to your point, I can vouch for what you're saying because 15 or 20 years ago, Josh League and I rode our kayaks up Juniata Street from Erie Street up to that very corner where Nani's is right now.
Yeah.
And
You don't see that as much.
you don't see that as much anymore. So now, Ms. Miller, we're starting with you. According to the annual report of the State of the Havre de Grace Water Sewer Fund 9, there's an approximate combined total of $4.09 million of annual debt service payments. $2.6 million annual debt service to the wastewater treatment plant with an additional $190,000 bond issuance and $1.3 million annual debt service for the $15 million infrastructure replacement and expansion bond. Currently, the connection fees for water and sewer are used to pay the debt, which requires a minimum 135 new connections to meet the minimum debt obligation payments. The operating costs have increased over the past 3 years, resulting in an approximate 50% increase upon all materials used for drinking water and sewage treatment. With Fund 9 being at maximum debt capacity, rising inflation costs, downturn in new housing construction, along with known state and federal constraints, how will you explain to citizens a proposed rate and fee increase to cover the debt and operating costs?
Well, obviously, you have to work within a budget. You have to work within your income, your incoming monies. Building, yes, right now is slumping due to cost, but I've looked at some projections and it looks like it's going to increase. But yeah, I mean, it may very well be that citizens may have to bear that. Without having looked at those budgets and the way the system is set up, I can't offer you alternatives without really looking into it. Again, that's just something that I would have to learn more about to be educated, to make an educated decision or suggestion on it. I mean, having built several homes and have to deal with that, I understand my town was $4,500 to do a water connection. So I know what that's like.
Thank you.
Excellent question. So the recent water and sewer report actually kind of foot stomped, and you can get a copy of this. It's on the city website. Really foot stomped that the ARPA funds are no longer available for the upcoming year, and the state bond is actually gone, right? So if you do the math, it looks, if you do that math and then you compare the numbers that you just compared, it looks a little grim. What I will tell you is though Fund 9 is considered the water and sewer system operating revenue expenses and expenses balance. The operating expenses, there's two elements of that, right? So these should always balance each other for the net operational profit loss. Yes. City hook connection fees, yes, that's what keeps it healthy. Things of that water and sewer bill, like when the bill comes in, right? That's a protected fund. We have the general fund, we have Fund 9, and we have the Marina Fund, which is Fund 8. Again, all on the website, right? So what really protects this a lot is, I'm proud to say that we did spend $1.3 million to get this huge pipeline to pump water into Aberdeen, right? So as we speak, as we're sitting here in this auditorium, we're pushing 500,000 gallons into Aberdeen and we're getting paid. So hopefully that's going to offset those costs and that CCRF for the following year. Thank you.
So as Johnny said, I have done a little bit of research on this and am aware that the bond market is closed until 2028. So at that point, we could potentially go back and ask for more money at that point. However, we will have to think outside the box for different ways to make revenue on this. So some things such as creative measures like having developers front end the cost so that it's not completely put onto our citizens. We are developing in different areas of the city, and so in order to do that, having the tap for the water fund there. As Johnny also mentioned, selling the water to Aberdeen ideally will bring in a increase of funds at that point. Thank you.
So the sale of water to Aberdeen is major. I think a creative idea that may have already been explored is giving Aberdeen the opportunity to get a discount on the water that we sell them if they give some of the money to build the infrastructure and to help get us out of the jam that we're in. My understanding is that the water infrastructure that we have here, the age that it is approximately 20 to 30% loss of water that we're paying to clean, paying to bring in, and we're losing it because the pipes and the infrastructure is so old. With the upgrades to the system, we could bring that 20 to 30% loss way down, which now gives us 10 to 15% income by doing nothing but upgrading our system.
Ms. Card.
I'm still learning about Fund 9 and the different funds, the general fund, the Marina Fund, but I do think that a lot of things here, the sewer plant is going to eventually be paid off. The mortgage is going to be paid off. That is going to help big time as far as some revenue right there. I mean, maybe we can do something with the wholesale cost that goes to Aberdeen. You know, maybe if they promise to take a certain amount, we'll leave it at a certain, there's a lot of different ways we could do, maybe pre-sale construction permits, hookup permits or something. I don't even know if you can do that, but that could possibly be an option too. Downtown and housing, I don't think if there is, I mean, there is, I get my updates with the housing prices coming down, but I don't think that's permanent. I still think people are building. I see building going on. We still have room to build and generate tax revenue. So that's all I have on that one.
I'll just add to what Scott said here. That's a very technical question with a lot of parameters and prerequisites that I'm not familiar with. So assuming that they're all accurate, and I will, selling water as a revenue stream is actually a nice way to put it, is also a good option. And maybe volume discounts or volume agreements could go with that too. The wastewater treatment plant costs money. Not having it would also cost money. Okay, so the question was, how would you explain it to residents? Well, the explanation might be, if we didn't have the wastewater treatment plant, here's what your water bill would cost. I'm assuming that would be much more. So sometimes we have to deliver news that isn't that good. And I think dealing with honesty, dealing with each other with honesty and forthrightness is what what our constituents want. Thank you.
I was a member of the city council that negotiated the Aberdeen sales. Johnny Boker and I both together on Water and Sewer Commission. The concern has always been, we're going to end up losing connection fees. At some point in time, we're going to build every house that we can build in here. But what we always have is the water from the Susquehanna. The water treatment plant can continue to produce. We have new system of service to get to Aberdeen. And eventually you're going to see us not only sell to Aberdeen, but we're going to be able to send branches off of that, and the county and other jurisdictions can be able to use the money. So our infrastructure is almost brand new. It was just recently built for that transmission line from the water treatment plant down to Aberdeen. It's there. It's going to be paid for shortly, and volume sales is what's going to make it up for us.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Bulker, many of us feel badly for the downtown businesses. What can or should the city do to help compensate for their lost sales?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, that is the economic vitality of the downtown region, right? And we get it. There has been some fast movement on bringing in and keeping the director of capital improvements. He was going to retire, but we decided to keep him on board to help speed things up. New engineering models were actually conducted again to help create additional parking. You'll know pretty soon that up on Congress eventually will be like a one-way street coming up to the light from Hutchins Park, creating a wishbone, therefore creating some more parking. That's still in the works. It hasn't died. And I get it. I mean, my wife and I, we were down there for, like I say, like 6 years, and a lot of our business was street business, right? I've talked to every single Jabba by the Bay. I mean, I've talked to all of them about what their revenue loss is, right? And unfortunately, there's not a lot that the city can actually do as far as cash offsets. However, there are programs with the Director of Economic Development and the Director of Main Street. There are certain avenues that they can go to, much like they did with COVID. I understand that it is a problem. It is a huge topic of discussion at City Hall, but we're moving forward. Thank you.
So I do believe that our businesses are the heartbeat of Havre de Grace. I do think that the restoration project downtown is going to help tremendously. I do believe that while it has been a little bit of a growing pain, the long game in it is going to be worth the hurt we've gone through. I think as far as looking at the businesses for the loss of sales, I think no one's better voiced than themselves. And so one thing that could mussibly happen is setting up a meeting with just them to see what they need from us. What is it that they desire, instead of hearing a lot of the mummers or, he said, she said type things. I think looking into grants are there for everything, just like they were with COVID. They are still there. So I think looking into grants that we can help from the city perspective to give to them. Thank you.
I think that we could help the businesses by helping the economic development here in Havre de Grace. The Bel Air has 4 individuals for what we have 1.5 for, or 1.5 for, and that's Bel Air City, not Bel Air in entirety. The business owners, as well as myself, don't know what we don't know. And they may not even know what grants are available, if there's grants or anything. How to write the grant is a whole separate problem. I think that we could, as city council, use the city grant writers that we have access to help develop a cookie cutter grant proposal that every business downtown could use.
Mr. Clark?
I think that, first off, as a citizen, I try to spend as much money as I can with these businesses. There's some you had to park a couple blocks away during the heat of the full on construction. You had to walk a couple blocks, no big deal. But I think all of us as citizens need to do that. I think the loss of sales that a lot of places have had, it almost calls for some kind of relief, like suspending fees for First Friday sidewalk use. That they're charged a fee for using that. Maybe we suspend that for a year. Something similar like that. They need some relief. I've talked to a bunch of them. I don't know how some of them are paying their rent, to be honest, with losing some business. Looks like we're going to start opening up the street and everything's going to, hopefully it's going to come back gangbusters. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a destination, but I think they do need some kind of relief.
Okay, the downtown revitalization project is one of the financial offsets. It's a massive investment in Havre de Grace as a destination, specifically aimed at helping our downtown businesses. I also agree with Scott that if there are offset for some fees, that can ease some of the pain of the transition. But in the end, this is best for Havre de Grace, and it's certainly going to be helping the businesses downtown. What we can do then to help bolster that growth in business is getting word out about Havre de Grace. We see some advertisements already about that, both locally and every once in a while on cable. Some of the things we can do, the nitty gritty, expanding the hours of the Tide and the schedule, and looking at handling peak times with the Tide, because sometimes you can't get a ride on the Tide, sometimes it's empty. And I know the people who run the Tide are checking out those how the Tide is being used, the most efficient way of doing it, and publicizing the Tide. So that's my answer.
Councilmember Boker, thank you very much for your view of the city. And I will sit there and say, Bridget Johnson and her team, and you also have the tourism group as well, do a fantastic job. But you have to also add in the Star Center and the Opera House. They are also revenue generators that bring people from outside the city of Havre de Grace here, and that brings them to go to the restaurants and shops. But let's go back to Bridget Johnson. In 2023 through 2025, there were 10 new businesses opening. Galvanel's Meat Company, Yellow Restaurant, Breezy Bay, Unique Boutique, Emerald Technical Solutions, Moon and Sea moved to a new location, Caliber 7, Harbor Freight, Cameron Michael Baby Couture, Aquavita. We lost 4 businesses. New businesses that expanded. The old Larapin Grill has been sold and is under new ownership, and the closing date for that is April 25th. Anytime Fitness is expanded. Blind Horse Distillery is expanding. Old Gulls Bakery is a new owner, plans for a bakery in the summer of 2025. Joseph's Department Store is under contract, and that is closing as well. So we're seeing the economic development team here in Havre de Grace do an outstanding job. And then we have buildings like this, and you're sitting in them. You can see the renovations that the city put into the Star Center, and it is bringing people into town.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Well, one of the things, since I am originally from New Jersey, I was a marketing major, and what I handled in the printing and sign business was new start businesses. In 2003, I had a fire at my office, and I got a rude education in what to do when you have your business interrupted. And thank God I had a little thing in my insurance that said business interruption insurance. And I've talked to a couple of the business owners downtown. They didn't know if it was in their policy or not. That's one thing that can be tapped. Another thing is when I talk to people from my hometown or in Philadelphia that I know, and they ask me where I'm living, and I say Havre de Grace, they're like, Havre de who? And they never heard of it. The people that have said, yeah, I seen that sign when I was going down 95. They don't know about it. So advertising the town more, yes. The Star Center, like he said, is definitely bringing people in. But the small businesses are hurting, and I think they need a little help with some driving force to help them go. That's the feedback I'm getting from them.
Thank you. Candidates, we are now, Before we go on, I want to make sure everybody knows, we will finish at 9 o'clock, as in all years past. This will be a 2-hour forum, and I promise you we will be done at 9. So now we're going to enter the lightning round. This is all I'm looking for is a one-word answer, candidates, or a two-word answer, and we're going to whiz through a bunch of questions. These are yes and no's or just one word, okay? And Ms. Clark, we're starting with you.
Great.
And we're
Love
going to go
this.
around, we're going to finish with Mr. Boker here, and we're going to do a few of them, and we're just going to stick there so we don't confuse ourselves with
Oh, I'm
messed
the
up
start of
orders.
all of them?
So you're first for all of them.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
Lucky
great.
you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you willing to support the use of ranked choice voting for our city elections?
Yes.
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 Yes, we're kind of already doing that now, but yes.
See how easy that was?
Yep.
Have you read the 2024 Envision Havre de Grace Comprehensive Plan available on the Havre de Grace City webpage? If yes, please identify one area of the plan that you think is important for the future of our city, and in a word, why? Ms. Clark.
Yes, the downtown development to better the businesses.
Yes. And the downtown development as well.
No.
Yes, the trees downtown and the environment.
Yes, the environment impact.
Yes, environment.
Yes, senior living and historic commission.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, would you support an ordinance to eliminate retailers' use of disposable plastic bags?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
What do you see as the greatest success our city government has achieved in the past 10 years? Tough one, in a word. Or two.
Outside the box thinking.
I would say the Star Center.
I was going to say that. I love the way, even before this revitalization, I know it's in one work, down, uplighting of the trees and the music. I'm sorry for that.
Accessibility. I see our people all the time in town.
The living shoreline.
As somebody who's only been here for 3 years, I would say government accessibility. I can call and talk to people.
Ride the tide and downtown renovation.
Voting, you should all know, is public record. Have you voted in the city elections in the last 2 election cycles?
Yeah.
Her turn first.
I have not. We've been traveling.
No.
Yes.
Yes, every time.
Yes.
No.
Mr. Johnny.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. That concludes our lightning round. Now we'll pick up Mr. Ellis. The current federal government fiscal reduction, along with the state of Maryland's significant budget shortfall, will impact the city's budget. The Department of Special Events has a $1.8 million annual budget. However, throughout the fiscal 2025 budget, there's no budget line for generated revenue. This is just one example of a significant city budget expenditure that is not tied to revenue generation or to capital improvement, i.e. equipment replacement. How would you justify the $1.8 million expenditures, especially in light of the fact that citizens are facing an 8 to 10% sewer or water rate and fee increase?
That's a lot of information.
Yes, it is.
That's something that I would have to dig more into and really explore each individual aspect of that.
Fair enough.
I also don't have a whole lot of knowledge about this, but the water increase, if you look at the bill that's coming out now, the the budget that's coming out now that council is looking at, the increase is on the water. There's no increase on the sewer. That's like, I think that's the first time that's ever happened. It seems like it to me. So it looks like there's a little bit of room to maybe we can play with that a little bit. I don't know. But that's all I really know about that. But that did stick out to me that we didn't have an increase on sewer, just the water. Usually they're together. So I'll definitely have to study up on this a little bit.
Kaznick.
I just want to understand the question. You said there's a line called special events, right?
Correct.
Okay, so, and I don't know what that line represents. I assume it's items that the city does, and there's no budget line for generated revenue is what the question said. I assume that special events are things that bring business into town, which raises revenue for local businesses. And I would say just because it doesn't generate dollars in the budget line directly does not mean it does not benefit the town. Okay, if business revenues go up, the town revenue is going to go up with it. So my read of that question is that, and that's my answer.
Thank you.
During the budget work sessions, when those line items come up, is the time the city council members have the opportunity to get more detailed information in that specific question. So that's a question that during the budget work sessions for the annual budget, the city council can delve into greater detail.
I'm basically going to parrot what he said. I mean, you got to know during the work sessions as to what those monies are used for and how to budget them. But yes, I mean, I would agree that those monies that are going to bring business into the town is going to benefit the businesses. So, yeah.
So absolutely. So we talked earlier about what the city can do to actually, provide some, for some lost revenue for the downtown. For clarity, the question was for the downtown businesses, right? That was the question. So this is one way is when you start bringing these type of events, they bring in the people. Even the Easter egg hunt last weekend, I talked to several people who weren't even from here, right? And of course, that was your recreation committee, right? It wasn't the city driven one, but that's an example of some of the events that actually bring a large majority of people from the outside to the inside, so they recognize what Havre de Grace is. Not that I'm all about the tourism, right? I'm all about the people, the citizens of Havre de Grace. However, if they bring their wallets, I'm all about that. Dinner and a movie, you can do that in Havre de Grace, right? You can take in a dinner and a show at the same time. You fill these seats, you fill the seats downtown in our restaurants. You have a point of presence within the city. Kind of controls a little bit of the crime rate too, because you have this point of presence there, and it's something that we can do. It's innovative. It's modern at the same time, taking care of our local heritage. Thank you.
So if I kind of backing off of what Johnny said, if I'm understanding, we're talking about the downtown businesses. So there wouldn't be, in my idea of this, there wouldn't be a line for generated revenue because the revenue is coming back into the specific businesses. So obviously we're bringing events and things into the city to bring the revenue into the businesses. So things like First Fridays, for instance, people come from everywhere for that, but that doesn't necessarily mean the city per se is going to get money off of that to have a generated line item for that. That's how I see it. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidates, you did great. There was a lot of technical detail in that question. I realize that it's near impossible to do that in 1 minute, so kudos to you all. And in recognition of your efforts, here's one that's a little more conceptual and less technical. And we're starting, I believe, with Mr. Clark. With the upcoming closing of Evonik, located in the heart of the city, what do you see as a possible future use for this industrial site?
Well, I didn't even know they're leaving. So I'm pretty ignorant on this, but it's a decent sized property. I don't know if the building is, up to standards, up to modern standards or anything, but there's plenty of businesses we can entice here. Sorry for this this answer. I just don't really have a lot of knowledge on that at all. So that's it.
I don't know if that was very conceptual of a question. It seems pretty specific. Yeah. I'm also with Scott. I was unaware of this also. My first thought, though, I live on Green Street, only a few blocks from there, is what kind of remediation on the site that's been and industry for quite a while. And before it was Vonic, it was, I forget what it was called, but I'm sure there's a lot of remediation that's going to have to go on there. That's going to take some time. My initial thought, I wrote rails to trails here because they do have rails here, so we could put in some trails near the schools. I would worry about zoning, traffic study if we're putting building, if we're going to make it available eventually for development. Could it be a park space? What other uses could we have for that space? I mean, that's a big question that is going to take a lot of research by our town government and also by our citizens.
Thank you.
It is going to take a lot of effort, especially with the new EPA requirements. You're talking about an industry that's been there for a while. It could be a generator of PFAS that could have impacted the soil. So depending on what remediation is necessary would depend on what type of future building could be placed there.
I would totally agree with that. Having built several commercial buildings in my life, the remediation can go from basic to really expensive really fast, and you would have to do all those studies prior to even figuring out. You have traffic studies, you have all the environmental impact, and it would take quite some time. Personally, I would like to see it go more residential, small shops, something that would attract more traffic into the town as far as forward businesses.
So before Evonik, it was Huber, right? And Huber was very instrumental to our community, much like Vulcan, right? Vulcan gives so much back to this community. Huber was the same way. Evonik comes in, they're kind of quiet, they're kind of under the radar. They did in fact fail a couple of important inspections, but they own it. And they're actually going to, so they do have a plan. They have a corporate plan. They're doing their Lean Six Sigma and all their Ishikawa fish charts and whatnot. They're figuring out how to mitigate. They're keeping a portion of it and they're selling a portion of it, right? And what that's going to become, we're not really sure about. But rest assured, this city, we are empowered by the articles I told you earlier, 33 and 34, that we control the zoning. Thank you.
So personally, I would like to see something come in there for the kids. In our community, we don't have a lot of activities or spaces to have activities for the kids. Something such as a sports park, indoor, something like that. I know as a city, we're looking into a skate park. While that's going to be outside, we know in Maryland, the weather is very unpredictable many months of the year. So having something inside of a building, if the building is feasible for that. I wouldn't be upset if there was development for housing there, as long as it wasn't a ton of housing. I do know that houses bring in extra revenue for the city, but me personally, I'm biased to the children and would love to see something for the kids.
So my understanding with that property and that company is that they are closing the production side and they're going to stay in business with the research side. And the good news is that I believe I saw that the job loss is only like 8 or to 12 individuals. As far as part of that property being sold and something else going there, I have no idea what type of chemicals were there or what would even be plausible to build there or safe to build there. If like Johnny said, they're selling that, I'm not sure exactly what their plan is or if there is a plan. I was under the impression that they may open the production side back up in the future as prices drop back down, but that's the information.
Thank you. This next question is for candidates who have not held a city council position before. So Mr. Boker, Mr. Martin, you can take a deep breath and relax for a minute. And we're going to begin with Mr. Kasnick. What will each candidate do to make sure, what will you do to make sure that everyone feels welcome and safe in Havre de Grace? What will each candidate do to promote kindness and or respect for someone whose values may not align with your own? There have been some very ugly comments from some candidates regarding other candidates, for example, on Facebook. This just detracts from our city in many ways. What is your plan to get along well enough to govern with civility if you are elected?
So leadership is important. Leading by example is important. So, walking the walk and talking the talk is important. So, and I'm an experienced leader, both in the military. I'm an informal leader in my building. So I know what that looks like, and I know how my actions affect others. But more importantly than that, we also have to respect people with different views. We as leaders and actually as community members should respect other folks too and understand that they also have different views. So living that every day is important. For the town here, we can continue to do the things we do. We have Upper Chesapeake Bay Pride, which certainly shows us as a welcoming community. We have, and more events like that, welcoming events like that. People who, I don't know that it's our job as the city to create those events, but certainly making it welcome and making the city available and treating events like that with the same thing we treat a seafood festival or an art festival. Okay, so the job of governing is governing, and making Havre de Grace a welcoming place to everyone is just being open and ensuring that people have access. That wasn't the greatest answer in the world, but that's my view on that.
Ms. Miller?
Well, like I said, I originally came from Jersey. And then I moved to Philly, which is a very welcoming place for all different types of diversity. And I landed in Charlestown and quickly learned why they nicknamed that Cecil Tucky. Now I came here and I've been met with pretty much open arms. Throwing jabs at each other on Facebook sometimes can be harmless, but then other times it's meant with a lot of hurt. And I've always made it my mission when somebody throws jabs at me to try to go out of my way to be kind towards them when I see them in person, to kind of reverse that trend. It seems online is one thing and in reality is another. But I felt very welcome here the first time I came, and that's something I would do. I would want to be very open for everybody.
Ms. Clark?
Sorry. Just for myself, I know when my wife and I started looking for a place to buy a house and live, we came here because being a same-sex couple, we were very welcomed here. We as Havre de Grace City became a city in 1878. So I think that stands a lot for us. I think that means that, the people sitting beside you are not just your neighbor, you're this, you're that. They're family. When we moved here, we don't have family from here. My wife's family's in Florida, mine's in Tennessee. And so when we moved here, this city became our family. And I think that is one of those things. And you wouldn't speak hate or hurt towards your family. You would speak love. And so I think speaking to each other as family members is what attracted us so much to this city. And I think continuing to do that. And I do think that as being on city council, that is something we can lead from the front, lead from the top. We set the standard for that. And so if we're showing that we are part of that family and we're showing that love, then everyone else is going to follow suit as well.
So hopefully this is the last time I say this tonight, but I say it every day, all day long. Be who you needed when you were younger. It's how I live. That's the way my brain works. It's that simple to me. My career is I'm a master barber. I always tell people I'll cut a cop, a criminal, and a kid back to back to back. And we can have the same conversation or we can have completely different conversations. It's one of my skills that I can communicate with people well. I don't mind. I don't really go places and feel uncomfortable. I'm from a small town on the Eastern Shore, just like Havre de Grace. And because of that, I grew up a local. And I feel like I have a local energy that I take everywhere I go. So there's I grew up in a place too small to talk bad about each other. You saw them in a half an hour. So that's just how I live.
So this town, I've lived in quite a few places, and this town was the most welcoming. It still is. There's a small contingent that are like, if you're not here for 40 years, you're a newbie, but that's cool. I get that. That's everywhere. But this is a nonpartisan election. It needs to stay nonpartisan. Once you are elected, you need to stay nonpartisan. That is the nature of this city. There's been some stuff going on. Facebook is a cesspool of negativity and ignorance. I've had my dealings with it too. And, I understand what your responsibility as an elected official, you have to behave a certain way. And that doesn't mean you have to change your beliefs, but you do have to act professional. And you have to be, personally with everybody. Everybody I meet is wonderful and friendly and wants to shake your hand and talk about your day. And I love this city. It's just so cool about everybody. The online stuff, it's a bunch of nonsense to waste time, I think. But I think if you're elected, you do have a responsibility to be nonpartisan, and you got to accept this person and this person, no matter what their views are. You have to listen to them, and their views may be, their comment may not be worthless, but you still need to take it and consider it. And that's it.
Thank you all. One more question, and then we're going to do our concluding remarks, and I'll get you all out at 9. And we'll begin with Mr. Martin. If you could be a Monday morning quarterback, what's one decision the city has made in the last 10 years you'd go and do differently?
Not leaving a job I had because of differences with the HR department.
That's your full answer?
Yep.
Dave? Cool. Okay, thanks. Just want to make sure.
One thing, keep it simple.
I hear you. Thank you. Ms. Miller?
Well, since I've only been here, August will be 3 years. I don't know enough about decisions the city has made that I would say that I would go against. But it's, again, the whole thing is a learning process for me. I want to get involved and I want to be part of this city.
Thank you. Mr. Boker, what's one thing that you would do differently?
I think in the room in which we're sitting right now, I think I would have done a few things differently. I understand that the Star Center, it is on a 5-year business plan. And if you're familiar with that, you know that that there is acceptable loss each year. And frankly, I've got the numbers right here. I'll show you after this. We're doing better and better. When they first started this off, I think if I was going to be king for a day, I probably would have done some of the exterior infrastructure a little differently and used some of the funds that were available at my fingertips, right? Some of the more green things to do, right? So maybe like a lighter colored roof instead of the old, the tar and whatnot, right? Light color, solar panels and things of that nature would have maybe offset some of the cost. But beyond that, that's probably one of the things that if I was king for a day back then, I probably would have done that.
Thank you. Ms. Clark?
So I think for me, I've looked into the different things in the city. My wife and I moved here in 2021, so we have not been here for years and years. I have talked with some of the city council members. I think for me, it's communication. I think a lot of the decisions that have been made have been great decisions, but I think the communication maybe could increase. I'm not even going to say be better because I think it's there, but for some of our older generation of people, it's a little harder to find sometimes. So I think having communication at different levels of people would be a better option. I think that would have helped some heartburn from the downtown project, as well as some heartburn where people don't feel that we've done things the correct way within this building that we're sitting in either. That's my answer. Thank you.
I have a short answer, and I think there's a lot of different angles that we could approach it from. I think that one thing that I would have done differently is utilized the trolley, ride the tide for more than tourism. I think there's enough people in town that could greatly benefit from rides, different places outside of the current trolley stops.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
I've been watching a ton of city council meetings on YouTube, I watch a bunch of these debates, talking years back, just because I'm a rookie at this. I'm not a politician. I've never been even interested in politics until fairly recently, but I saw they were talking about with this infrastructure, deal downtown that, I can't find out what happened, but they were talking about potentially having heated streets, which would be pretty cool for the brick streets or whatever. But obviously maybe the money or something that got killed somewhere. But I really think with all the stuff they're doing with the uplighting, with the music, I think the city should have citywide Wi-Fi for people because internet's expensive. Not everybody in town's a millionaire. You know, some people are struggling. So I think that would be a big thing to have. And, you know, it would help tourists too. You know, they'd go, oh, I can get on anywhere. And it's really, I don't think it's a huge, massive expense. Somebody said, if they give you $1 million, what would you spend it on? That was my answer. Wi-Fi for the town, because that's probably what it would cost to put the infrastructure in and everything, which $1 million a lot, but in a grand scheme of things, I don't think it's a ton. But that's just what I would do different.
Thank you.
Several years ago, City Council, there was something brought up in front of City Council. A developer wanted to demolish a site across from where they were developing demolish an abandoned house across from where they're putting in 3 houses. They asked that their hookup fees be waived. That was about $50,000 worth of hookup fees. I was disappointed that the City Council voted 3-3 and tied on that. I was heartened that the mayor decided not to break the tie and it wasn't approved because it was basically a no bid contract for $50,000 for a developer that would have cost us $35,000 in revenue as citizens. I think that vote should have been a 6-0 against. So if I Monday morning quarterbacked it, as a city council person, that's the type of thing I'd advocate for with the city council.
Thank you very much. So we're just about to go into closing comments. Each of you has 2 minutes to do a closing statement. We've covered a lot of different areas here, obviously, tonight. We haven't even come close to covering the number of topics that I received questions about. As I said, I received probably about 90 questions this year. So feel free in your closing comments to address things that we have not talked about already. I encourage you to do that. And once again, you don't have to use all the time, but it is yours to use if you so choose. And we'll begin with Ms. Miller as you're next in the queue.
Okay, well, I basically gave you a synopsis about me. Many of the things I'm passionate with is safety. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly when people are not safe. I look at things and don't say that's bad. I look at it and say that could be better. There's several things around the city I look at and say they could be safer than what it is. I want to be a part of that. I want to be part of the solutions, not the problems. And I want to just donate to my town, my time and as much as I can to make the city a wonderful place. I mean, it is a wonderful place. It can be better.
Booker.
Citizens of Havre de Grace, I, Johnny Booker, do solemnly swear that I will again fulfill the requirements of the office of City Council, that I will support the Constitution of the United States, and that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland and support the Constitution and laws thereof, and that I will faithfully and impartially, without fear of favor or prejudice, discharge the duties as a member of the Havre de Grace City Council to the very best of my ability. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout my life, I have sworn many oaths and have lived up to many creeds in the Army, in defense of my country, and in the constant and continued service of my city. These forms are a great way to evaluate and demonstrate my knowledge of city issues, city government, to discuss priorities, fiscal responsibilities, character, morals, decency, availability, and true commitment for this city. Without these attributes, the city's growth is definitely hindered. I firmly believe that modernization and maintaining our historical charm will go hand in hand, just as it is written in the newly published comprehensive plan. This is possible by working with the city administration and directors and taking advice from our commissions and our committees. That's what they're there for. We have a serious brain trust. We need to utilize that. I understand that being on city council is a very serious position, one that I do not take lightly. By being a council member, I'm charged with protecting the assets of Havre de Grace. That is my primary duty. As stated earlier, my authority comes from Article 11E of the Maryland State Constitution and City Charter Sections number 33 and 34. This charter grants the explicit duties and authorizations I use to maintain government and write ordinances. For me, being on city council is not a stepping stone for another office. City council is not a hobby, it's not a sport, and it's not a game. In closing, I want to say when I wear this city crest on my lapel, it signifies that I am always available to serve you, the citizens, and advocate in your interest. This, I swear to you. Thank you.
As I close tonight, I want to thank each of you for being here, for listening, for caring about the future of Havre de Grace. This city is more than just where we live. It's where we grow, where we raise our families, and where we build a legacy. You've heard a little bit about who I am, a combat veteran, a cybersecurity professional, a student, a leader, and above all, a dedicated community member. I've worn many hats in this city, from coaching to volunteering to serving on local boards. I bring that same energy and commitment into the heart into this campaign and into this city. I believe in our youth. I respect our history. I will never stop fighting for safety, prosperity, and the unity of our city. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I promise that I will always listen, learn, and always lead with integrity. Above all, no one has all the answers, but together with open dialogue and collaboration, we can make this city even better. So I'm asking for your support, your trust, and most importantly, your vote. Please remember to vote Liz Clark on May 6th here at the Star Center. Let's work together to create a city where everyone, young and old, can thrive, feel heard, and be proud to call this city our home. Thank you again.
If there's one thing I hope you take away from my closing, it's that I'm already here. I'm already engaged. I'm already doing the work. I've been a part of the conversation that helped shape this city for years now. I care deeply about where Havre de Grace is heading and where it's been. I also believe that we need more people involved, more voices at the table, just as we have right now today. The only way to get there is by electing leaders who are connected to the community, not just in name, but in action. I coach, I'm on several city commissions, and I help keep our city clean with the Cat Club. I support the Green Team in several initiatives. I'm also an active member of the PTA, along with many other avenues. Our city needs, not should have, needs to reflect the diversity and spirit of Havre de Grace. Different backgrounds and different experiences. That's how we make sure that no one gets left out of the conversation. Leadership to me is about being present, being accountable, and being the person who consistently shows up. Not when it's convenient or when someone's watching. If there's any way possible, I would love to get a copy of the questions. If it's important to those of the citizens here or those watching online that send it in, it's important to me. If you're looking for a council member who's already here, already engaged, and ready to keep working for you, I'm Matthew Ellis, and I'd be honored to earn your vote for Havre de Grace City Council.
First off, I'd like to thank the Jaffes. This is a cool little thing. I've never been a part of a forum like this. Thank you for dedicating your time and energy for 20 years or so, I think. Thank you for that. Everybody else, thank you all for your time and engagement this evening. As I sit before you, I want to reinforce my deep commitment to our community and values that guide me. Over the years, I've experienced both the challenges and joys that come with living in Havre de Grace. I've journeyed from chasing a dream and acting, poor joke, and to embracing the roles of entrepreneur, landlord, and community volunteer. Throughout these experiences, one truth has remained clear. Our community thrives and is number one when we come together and support one another. I believe my unconventional background gives me a unique perspective and fresh approach to the issues we face. I'm passionate about ensuring that our city's resources are used wisely, so taxpayer dollars are spent effectively on programs that truly benefit our residents, particularly the most vulnerable among us. Combating childhood hunger is a cause especially close to my heart. I pledge to prioritize initiatives to foster accessibility to food and support for all families in our city. As your neighbor, I promise to bring honesty, integrity, and a spirit of collaboration to the council. I understand the importance of listening to each of you and working alongside my fellow council members to implement solutions that affect our shared values and vision for the future of Havre de Grace. As we celebrate, my wife and I, our personal milestone on Election Day, our 30th anniversary, I'm reminded of the power of partnership, commitment, and service. I humbly ask you for your support and your vote on May 6th. Together, we can build a brighter, more inclusive future for our community. Thank you to everyone here tonight, and good luck to my fellow candidates as we all strive to make our city the best it can be. Please remember to vote. That's it.
Listen. That's the sound of local government, quietly working in the background. It is serious business for serious people serving our community. City government fulfills 3 of the 4 purposes of government: providing public services, maintaining social order, and making economic decisions. We provide public services with our water plant and clean water, with trash collection, with fire and ambulance, with our parks. We provide public transit with the Tide. We maintain social order with our police department, with our polling places, by having traffic patterns, by our code enforcement. We make economic decisions, revitalizing the downtown, having a fee-free public transit with the Tide, having a city-run water plant, having a city police department, deciding to outsource to third-party trash collection, with our bonds, with our capital reserves for the water plant. I will always bear in mind these roles of government when voting in council. Everybody on this stage is motivated to do what is best for our community. Choosing just 3 of us is a tough choice. Thank you for coming out and informing your vote and informing your choice. Good luck with that.
First, the last question. I misunderstood it. The answer is fight harder for the stewardship of the Susquehanna River. In closing, I wish to thank Dr. Jaffe, his wife Brenda, and the Opac for this forum. A special thanks to all the candidates providing a choice to the citizens of Havre de Grace. Again, why vote Dave Martin? Havre de Grace is a city of volunteers. It has always been a place of diversity, whether it be economic, racial, or religious. I believe my record speaks for itself. I plan to focus on fiscal responsibility, long-term solutions, not short-term Band-Aid fixes. Before I vote on any city ordinance, resolution, or special event, I always ask myself, do my actions improve the quality of life? And are they in the best interest of the citizens I represent? I support the continued growth and recognition of the historic diversity as a place of work, industry, housing, and educational parity. I have supported converting city buildings to solar power, the addition of 2 electric vehicles and 6 electric trolleys. Havre de Grace is recognized as a sustainable Maryland city, Tree City, USA, Pollinator City, and a Banner City. The waterfront is a living shoreline, the promenade, walking trails, parks, open spaces, the art galleries, and museums. I continue to recognize and support the professional services of the Havre de Grace Ambulance Corps, the Susquehanna Hose Company, an ISO 1-rated volunteer fire department, and the HDD Police Department. Because of their dedicated service, Havre de Grace remains one of the best places to live and safest cities in Maryland and the nation. Want to hear more? Come out tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. and join me at McGregor's for a meet and greet. Remember to come out to vote and vote Dave Martin on May 6th. Thank you.
So, no matter what you think of what's going on in our country these days, or our world these days, I think we can all take comfort in knowing that democracy is alive and well here in Havre de Grace. And once again, as I feel every year and try to convey, I'm inspired and enthused by this process, by you candidates. I thank you all sincerely for your willingness to step forward, for your willingness to think seriously about these issues, to take hardball questions, things that you may have heard nothing about, and do your best with them. Truly, I thank you. This is what democracy ought to be about. And if we could just take what we have here in Havre de Grace and spread it out to the world, what a lovely place it would be indeed. So thank you all. Thank you all for coming. I want to also extend a thank you to Mayor Martin, to the city, and to the Star Center for hosting us this evening, and specifically shout outs to Tammy Brinkman, Jimmy Burrell, Dixon Teal for helping with the technology and all of the logistics here. And finally, but not really finally, to my dear wife, Brenda here, who really keeps my logistics together and makes this possible. Please let your friends and your neighbors know that this forum is available for their viewing. The easiest way to find it is to go to the city's webpage or Google Havre de Grace YouTube, and you'll get to it. And of course, we'll see you here on the 6th, Tuesday, May 6th, when we encourage our friends and neighbors to all come out and vote. Thank you and have a good night.